My uncle showed up at my door broke, filthy, begging for a place to stay after blowing my $7,000 business loan on Paris champagne and Instagram reels. I just looked at him and said, "You've got anywhere but here." It started on a Thursday afternoon, right after lunch, when the sky looked like it couldn't decide between raining or shining. I was halfway through fixing a printer jam in the office break room when I heard someone calling my name. Not over the intercom, not through a phone call, just straight up yelling from the front lobby like it was a high school reunion. "Evan, my man." I turned, and there he was. Uncle Hudson, tanned, grinning like he'd just won the lottery, wearing a leather jacket that looked a little too new to be casual. The last time I'd seen him was at my dad's funeral 3 years ago. Even then, he was 30 minutes late and reeked of cologne. "Hudson," I blinked, half in shock. "What are you doing here?" He slapped me on the back like we were old war buddies. "I was just in the area, thought I'd check in on my favorite nephew." I worked at a mid-sized insurance firm in Westerville, Ohio. Not exactly a tourist stop. Something about the way he smiled set off alarm bells immediately. But I forced a smile and led him to one of the empty conference rooms. That's when the pitch started. "So listen," he said, spreading a folder out in front of me like he was in Shark Tank. "I've got this opportunity. Real estate meets hospitality, luxury tiny homes in upstate New York. It's going to be the next big thing." He had charts. He had buzzwords. He had just enough confidence to make it sound like he knew what he was talking about. Then came the ask. "All I need is a little push to get started. Just $7,000. It's basically a bridge loan. I'll pay you back in 90 days, tops. With interest. $7,000. My stomach twisted. He must have seen the hesitation in my face, because he shifted tactics. "Your dad would have jumped on this. You know that, right? He believed in me. Always said I had hustle." That stung. My dad had always been soft on Hudson, his younger brother, the risk-taker, the charmer. But Hudson never followed through. He'd get jobs and quit them, start businesses and abandon them. Still, hearing him invoke my dad like that made something in me crack. "I'll draw up a contract," I said quietly. "I need something on paper." He looked offended for half a second, then nodded. "Of course. Smart. Just like your old man." We signed it right there in the office. He even hugged me before he left. As he walked out, that smile never left his face. But something inside me didn't sit right. I wanted to believe I'd done the right thing. That blood meant trust. But as I sat alone in the conference room staring at that signed contract, I had this sinking feeling that I'd just made a very expensive mistake. It was 2 weeks later when I saw the first post. I wasn't even looking for it. Just scrolling through Instagram while waiting for my coffee to brew. And then there it was. Hudson, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, arms spread wide like he owned the place. Caption read, "Business opportunities are everywhere if you know where to look. Bonjour, Paris," with 3 champagne emojis. Paris. I read it twice. Then a third time. My thumb hovered over the screen like maybe I'd misread it. Hudson had told me he was flying to Buffalo. Something about touring land parcels with his new business partner. He had mentioned muddy boots and freezing mornings. Not croissants and champagne. I texted him right away. "Paris? Thought you were in upstate New York." He replied an hour later. "Just a quick detour. Chill, Evan. It's just money. You'll survive." I stared at the screen for a long time. My coffee sat untouched, growing cold. Just money. I hadn't expected a thank you. But I didn't expect that. I didn't respond. I closed the app. I tried to shake it off. But for the rest of the day, I kept picturing him in that photo, grinning like a kid in Disneyland while I sat in my cubicle grinding through policy renewals. The next day, he posted a video. He was sipping wine on a balcony with a view of the Seine, laughing, talking about expanding the network. I didn't even know what that meant. That night, I went through our contract again. It was all there, dates, amounts, signatures. But it looked flimsy now. Like paper wouldn't be enough to make someone like Hudson do the right thing. I didn't tell anyone. Not at first. I was too embarrassed. I kept thinking, "You're not stupid. You're not the kind of guy who falls for this." And yet I had. The last straw was a selfie of him at a rooftop pool. Tag, "When your office has a better view than your cousin's cubicle." I blocked him. I know that sounds petty, but I couldn't stand it. The betrayal wasn't just about the money. It was about the disrespect. The way he looked at my loan like a ticket to party instead of the help it was meant to be. I didn't call him. Didn't text. I just shut the door quietly in my head and tried to move on. But it stayed with me. Because no matter how many times I told myself it was just money, it wasn't. It was trust. And he burned it like a souvenir receipt in a Paris hotel trash can. It was a Tuesday night when my phone buzzed. I was halfway through reheating leftover lasagna when I saw Charlotte's name flash on the screen. "Hey." I answered, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "You sitting down?" she asked. My heart dropped. Charlotte never opened with that unless something was really wrong. "Yeah. What's going on?" She hesitated. I could hear her flipping through papers in the background, or maybe pacing. It's about Hudson. Of course it was. I let out a breath. What now? She exhaled. Evan, I talked to Aunt Renee last night. Apparently Hudson borrowed $5,000 from her last year. Told her it was for a food truck business in Cincinnati. He promised to pay her back in 3 months. I didn't even have to ask. He didn't. Nope. Not a cent. And then get this. Uncle Ray too. He loaned him 10 grand a few years ago. Mobile dog grooming startup, he said. I rubbed my temple. You're kidding me. I wish I was. He's been pulling this same act all over the family. Different stories, different businesses. Same ending. My stomach turned. I thought the Paris thing was bad, but now it felt like I was part of some long-running scam that everyone just tolerated. I didn't even know half of it. Why didn't anyone say anything? I asked. I think they were embarrassed, she said quietly. No one wants to admit they got taken. There was a silence between us. Then she added, Evan, I know you gave him money. I closed my eyes. Yeah, 7 grand. God, she whispered. He's got a pattern, and he knows exactly who to go for. The ones who feel guilty. The ones who still see him as the fun uncle, or the guy who used to teach us how to ride bikes. That was it. That's exactly what he banked on. Nostalgia. That version of Hudson who used to bring me comic books and call me champ, like I was the only kid in the world who mattered. As I stood in my quiet kitchen, I realized something. Hudson didn't just manipulate people. He calculated. He performed. A few hours later, I got a message on Facebook. From Ella, Hudson's daughter. Hey, I heard what happened. I'm really sorry. I wish I could say it's the first time. She didn't need to say more. I didn't write back. I just opened a new folder on my laptop. Labeled it, Hudson Receipts. It started with the unknown numbers. First a few, then a dozen. By the end of the week, I'd counted 30 missed calls, each one more persistent than the last. No voicemails, just a name I didn't recognize, or no caller ID at all. I knew who it was. Then came the texts. Please pick up. I just need 5 minutes. You're being unfair. Family doesn't do this to each other. I didn't respond. I deleted each one, then blocked the number. But another would pop up the next day. Different area code. Same desperate tone. What finally broke the silence was a knock at the glass door of my office. I looked up from my desk, and there he was, Hudson. Again. He looked worse this time. Hair disheveled, a wrinkled hoodie stretched tight across his stomach. He pressed his hand to the glass, mouthing my name like he was stranded outside a lifeboat. My coworker Tanya glanced at me from her desk. You good? I nodded. Yeah, I got it. I stepped into the hallway and pulled the door open just enough to keep the latch engaged. Hudson, I said flatly. Evan, he said, like it was some kind of reunion. Come on, man. Don't shut me out. This isn't like you. I blinked. You lied to me. You took my money and went on a European vacation. I didn't lie. You said it was for a business. It was, he said quickly. But then things changed. You know how life goes. I needed a break. And honestly, I thought you'd understand. I stared at him, jaw tight. I signed over $7,000 based on your word. And you used that trust like a personal ATM. His eyes darted to the side. Look, I've hit a rough patch, okay? Just give me a chance to explain. I don't want an explanation, I said. I want you gone. He blinked at that, like he hadn't considered the possibility I'd say no. Seriously? You're really going to turn your back on me? You already did that, I said. He stepped back, looking like he'd just been slapped. You sound just like your dad. That did it. I closed the door, locked it, and I didn't look back as he stood there outside, mouthing words I couldn't hear anymore. Later, I sat alone in the office break room and thought about my dad. How, when I was a kid, Hudson was larger than life. Cool uncle, prankster, always good for a laugh. Now he was just a ghost banging on locked doors. And for once, I didn't feel guilty turning away. I unblocked him once. Just once. Curiosity got the better of me. I told myself it was to document more evidence, maybe screenshot a few posts for my file. But truthfully, I just wanted to see if he'd come to his senses. He hadn't. What I found was a vacation reel that could have been pulled from a travel influencer's page. Hudson in London, sipping cocktails with the London eye glowing behind him. Hudson on a boat in Amsterdam, pointing at tulip fields with fake deep captions like, chasing peace. Investing in perspective. Hudson in Milan, standing outside a luxury boutique in loafers that probably cost half my rent. I scrolled in disbelief. There was no mention of the business he'd pitched me. No sign of effort, hustle, or work. Just hotel rooms, drinks, rooftop selfies, and vague hashtags about growth and freedom. He had used the money like it was Monopoly cash. And the worst part? He didn't seem the least bit ashamed. I remember one post in particular. He was in front of some art installation in Berlin, arms wide. That same grin plastered across his face. Not everyone will understand your journey. That's okay. Some people are meant to watch from the sidelines. I stared at that for a long time. I wasn't on the sidelines. I was the guy who bought the ticket. The anger came back, sharper this time. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the mockery. The way he twisted everything to make himself the hero of his own story. He didn't scam me. He liberated himself. He wasn't irresponsible. He was seizing the moment. I wanted to say something. Leave a comment. Call him out publicly. But I didn't. Instead, I took screenshots. Every post. Every tag. Every caption dripping with ego. I saved them to the Hudson Receipts folder and reminded myself. Let him dig his own grave. A week later, my cousin June messaged me out of nowhere. Hey, Hudson told us you invested in some European property thing with him? Just wanted to double check before we wired anything. That's when I knew. It wasn't just me. He was making the rounds. I told her the truth. Every detail. Sent her the screenshots. Her reply came a few minutes later. Holy crap. I had no idea. Thank you for telling me. I didn't feel vindicated. Not really. I felt tired. Because no matter how far Hudson traveled, his game stayed the same. Charm. Guilt. Exploitation. The only thing that changed was the location. So I did the only thing I could do. I reblocked him, turned off notifications, and sat back in silence. I wouldn't warn everyone. Some people would learn the hard way. But me? I had learned enough. And I was done watching the highlight reel of a con man spinning lies in front of historic landmarks. It was Ella again. She messaged me late on a Sunday evening, and this time, there was no small talk. I need to tell you something. About the money. About everything. We hopped on a call. Her voice was low, quiet like she didn't want someone to overhear. I've been going through his old emails, she said. Messages, notes he scribbled on napkins, even a notebook he left in my car last month. It's bad, Evan. He didn't just borrow money from you. I braced myself. How many people? She paused. 7. Maybe more. I rubbed my eyes. Jesus. I added it up. It's over 30 grand. Probably more if you include the favors he promised, but never delivered on. I didn't say anything. Just listened as she went on, rattling off names. Aunt Renee, Uncle Ray, even my cousin Jeff, who barely had enough savings to cover rent. They all had one thing in common. Hudson had come to them with a smile, a story, and just enough desperation to make them feel like heroes. He even tried to get money from my roommate, Ella added, her voice cracking. Said it was for some import business. She didn't give it to him, thank God. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because he's spiraling, she said. He's been spending like crazy, but the income's dried up. His cards are maxed. He's borrowing from people who barely know him now. I think something's about to blow. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part just felt numb. He said you were his safety net, she continued. That you'd come around eventually. That you always do. That hit harder than I expected. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat at my desk and opened the Hudson Receipts folder. I added the call notes. Updated the total amount owed. Scanned the social media posts again. Cross-referenced names. It was all there, screenshots, text threads, the contract he signed with me, time-stamped images of his European vacation. A full paper trail, if it ever came to that. He was getting desperate now. I could feel it. The texts were coming more often. The unknown numbers wouldn't stop. One message even said, I'm in trouble. Please, I just need another loan to fix this. I didn't reply. I didn't delete it, either. I saved it. Because I knew what was coming. And I wasn't going to let him drag me down with him. He called again. This time, he didn't bother hiding the number. It was just past 9 p.m. on a Thursday. I was sitting on the couch watching TV, trying to forget everything for once. But when I saw the name flash across the screen, I knew. Hudson. I let it ring once. Twice. Then I answered. Evan, he said immediately, like we were in the middle of a conversation. Listen, I wouldn't be calling if it wasn't urgent. I didn't say anything. Just let him talk. I messed up, okay? I know I did. But I'm in a bind, man. Serious trouble. I need help. I still said nothing. You remember that property thing I mentioned? It fell through. I lost more than I thought. I got this guy after me now. It's bad. I need 15 grand to straighten it out, and after that I swear I'm done. One-time fix. I'll pay you back. You have my word. I laughed. Just once. Quiet and sharp. Your word. I said. You mean like the last time? He sighed, like I was the unreasonable one. Come on, Evan. I'm drowning here. You're the only person I can count on. No, I said. I was the only person you could manipulate. The line went quiet for a second. Then he snapped. You think you're better than me now, he hissed. You think money makes you smart? You got lucky, Evan. You think you're above family just because you work in an office and don't have dirt under your nails. No, I said calmly. I think I'm finally seeing you clearly. He cursed and hung up. 10 minutes later, I opened the Hudson Receipts folder and selected 20 screenshots. His texts begging for money. His posts from Paris and Amsterdam. The contract we signed. Ella's messages. And then I sent it all to our family group chat. No caption, no explanation, just the truth, laid out plainly. Within 30 minutes, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. First was Charlotte. Holy crap. Are you serious? Then my cousin Jeff. He told me the exact same story. Same numbers. Even Uncle Ray chimed in. He still owes me 10 grand from 2 years ago. By the end of the night, the group chat was blowing up. Family members piling in, some angry, some shocked, some just embarrassed they hadn't spoken up sooner. One message from Aunt Renee stuck with me. We always knew he had issues. But this is evil. Hudson never replied. Not in the group. Not privately. But the silence told me everything I needed to know. The curtain had been pulled back. He wasn't the charming underdog anymore. He was exposed. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace. Not revenge. Not glee. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing the truth had finally come to light. And Hudson? He was officially out of places to hide. It was a week later when he showed up at my doorstep. I'd just gotten back from the grocery store, arms full of bags, when I saw him sitting on the bottom step of my porch like a stray dog waiting for scraps. He looked nothing like the man who'd smiled for selfies in Milan. His face was sunken, eyes bloodshot, wearing a windbreaker that hung loose off his frame. He stood when he saw me. Evan, he said softly. Please. I didn't answer. Just unlocked my door, walked inside, and left it open behind me. He followed. I set the bags on the counter, took a breath, and turned to face him. I know you hate me, he said, voice trembling. I know I screwed up. But I'm begging you. I have nothing left. My cards are frozen. I'm getting eviction notices. Everyone in the family's turned their back on me. I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel betrayed. I just felt done. Why are you here, Hudson? He blinked at me like he didn't understand the question. Because you're family. You're the only one who ever gave a damn. No, I said, stepping closer. I'm the only one you could guilt into giving you money. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. You didn't come here for forgiveness. You came because your game is up. You ran out of people to lie to. And now you think showing up broke and pitiful will make me forget what you did. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, he muttered. I was just trying to stay afloat. You didn't just hurt people, I said, quieter now. You drained them. Lied to them. Used them. You used me. And now you want pity? He dropped his head, shoulders sagging. I don't have anywhere else to go. I stepped back and opened the front door. You do now, I said. Anywhere but here. He stared at the open door like it was a cliff. You're really going to do this? I already did, I said. You made your choices. Now you can live with them. For a second, I thought he might yell. Maybe throw one last insult on the way out. But instead, he just walked out in silence, down the steps, and into the cold dusk. Later that night, I got a text from my aunt. Some of us think you were too harsh. He's still your uncle. Maybe I was harsh. But I finally understood something. Family isn't about blood. It's about boundaries. And I was done bleeding for people who never deserved it. I found out from Charlotte. She called one morning before work, her voice tight, almost shaking with a strange mix of nerves and satisfaction. They froze his accounts, she said. Everything. Bank, credit cards, PayPal, all of it. I sat up straighter. Who did? A loan shark, I think. Or some kind of private lender. He owes them a lot more than he told anyone. How much? I asked. She hesitated. At least 25 grand. Probably more. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. Apparently, someone had tracked him down at the rundown motel he'd been staying in. They didn't beat him up, didn't make threats. They served him legal papers. Hudson was officially being sued. He'd gone too far, crossed the wrong people. His lavish Europe tour had been funded not just by family, but by borrowed money from people who expected interest and fast. And now the web was collapsing. That same day, I got a text from Ella. He's trying to borrow from my mom's side now. Left voicemails for my grandma. Said he was being attacked by his own family. Then came the calls to the rest of the clan. Jeff texted me. He asked me for $2,000 to settle a misunderstanding. I blocked him. Aunt Renee. He's panicking. Left me 6 voicemails in one day. I feel bad, but I'm not answering. For the first time in his life, Hudson had run out of people to fool. His name was mud. His credit worse. The family that once enabled him, either out of guilt, fear, or tradition, was now radio silent. I heard rumors that he was trying to sell off electronics, that he'd offered to pawn his car, which he didn't technically own, that he looked into temp work, but couldn't keep anything steady. No one wanted to hire a man with a charm offensive and a trail of unpaid debts. Then Charlotte told me something that stayed with me. He told Aunt Lisa that all he ever wanted was to be respected, that he thought if he acted successful long enough, people would believe it. I didn't say anything. What could I say? He wanted respect, but all he earned was distrust. He wanted loyalty, but all he gave was lies. He wanted to be admired, But he burned every bridge on his way up, and now that he was falling, there was no one left to catch him. That night, I sat alone at my kitchen table and stared out the window at the quiet street. No drama. No chaos. Just silence. Hudson had built his whole life around dodging consequences. But now, they were catching up. And me? I finally felt like I could breathe. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't anger. It's watching the truth finally do what you couldn't. It happened on a Tuesday morning, sun just rising, the sky that soft, pale gray that makes everything feel quieter than it is. My doorbell rang. I stood in the hallway for a second, frozen, hoping maybe it was a neighbor or a package delivery. But deep down, I already knew. When I opened the door, there he was. Hudson. No suitcase, no backpack. Just him. Shoulders hunched forward, hoodie pulled tight over his head, shoes muddy, eyes hollow. The man who once burst into my office full of promises now looked like a ghost standing on my welcome mat. Don't slam it, he said quietly. I'm not here to fight. I didn't move. Just stared at him. I know I burned everything, he went on. I know what I did. But I'm done pretending. I need help. I crossed my arms. Help with what? He looked at me, really looked, like someone finally realizing the door wasn't opening this time. Anything. A ride. Alone. A place to stay. I'm out of moves, Evan. You're not out of moves, I said. You're out of people to manipulate. His face twitched. Like he wanted to argue, but didn't have the strength. You don't get to show up here, I said, voice steady. Not after everything. I'm your uncle. No, I said firmly. You're a man who used that title like a fishing hook. I let you in. I gave you money. I defended you. And you spat in my face. He looked down, eyes wet. I don't have anywhere else to go. I know, I said. That's the consequence, Hudson. That's what happens when you spend your whole life cashing in favors and never repaying them. He took a shaky breath. So that's it. That's it. He didn't argue. He didn't yell. He just nodded once, slowly, and stepped back. As he turned to walk away, I noticed how stiff his gait had become. Like the weight of everything he'd done was finally starting to press down on his spine. That door closed with a soft click behind me, and I stood there for a moment, palms pressed to the wood. I expected to feel something. Sadness. Relief. Vindication. But all I felt was stillness. Later that day, I got a message from one of my cousins. Not everyone agrees with how you handled it. Some people think you should have helped him one last time. I didn't reply, because I knew this wasn't about spite. It was about survival. You can't keep rescuing someone who doesn't want to change. That's not compassion, it's self-destruction. Hudson made his choices. And I finally made mine. That night, I stepped out onto my porch. The air was cool. The sky had cleared. The first orange streaks of sunrise touched the tops of the trees. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt free.